Well, you guys have heard me say that I'm not a big fan of switchblades, but there is a caveat to that. You saw the title. We're going to look at a category of knives that are not full-time switchblades. These are very unique. They have a hidden switchblade mechanism. So let's turn this around and look at a couple amazing knives by Matt Disin. All right, guys, we've talked about these knives in shorts before. These are what are called double action knives. Now, these are both Matt Disin knives. This one is the Matt Disin Revolution, and this is the Disin Fire, also done by Matt Disin. Now, these are incredible knives on their own, even if they didn't have this hidden switchblade feature that we're going to talk about in a second. Even if they didn't have them, they still are incredible knives. Now, this one's kind of special. We'll get into that in a little bit, but we're going to look at this Fire first, because I think this is probably my favorite showing of this style knife. So let's get this out of the way for a little bit. So this is the Disin Fire. It's done in titanium and carbon fiber and Elmax steel. And you can see it's just a beautiful knife all around. Matt does incredible work. And then he has incorporated in these knives, so you can see, slow roll, you can shake it home. It doesn't have any spring at the moment. But what happens is these have a hidden mechanism. Look at that, even a carbon fiber backspacer. These have a hidden mechanism down inside. You can see down in here, it looks a little different down inside the guts of the knife. You can see down in there, there's some stuff going on in there that is kind of unique and interesting. And that's because inside here is that hidden mechanism. When you pull this to the side, and I'm going to show you real quick on this. When you pull this to the side, you can see that whole thing shifts and it disengages the lock on the spring. It's just a little arm that cants over and allows the spring that's in there that now has pushed forward to come out. And you can see that little spring keeps it from over traveling. That's why it's like that. So you can basically then reset the spring by pushing it back in, and then the little arm catches, and then you have a regular knife. So you really have got the best of both worlds. You've got a knife that you can use day to day like this, and if you choose to use it as a switchblade, you can. These are a clever design. Now, there's some other people that make these as well. You know, Will and Eric Touch are famous for making these style knives, the double action knives. But the cool thing is this is a switchblade that is it's basically a nested frame lock with the scales. It doesn't look any different than any other knife you would get on the market, except it's got that in it. Now, I do have another one that is also a Matt Disin knife. This is the Disin Revolution. Now, this one is in full polished M390 and titanium with these ivory G10 overlays, but this one as well, same mechanism. Now, this one's a little bit different because it's got a bolster, so you just push down here and then that kicks out of the way, and you can kind of see here how that works. It just pulls back on this. You can't see it in there, but it just is a little lever that catches. And this one has got some beautiful tool work done inside, and steel pivots on this. This is just a beautiful knife. Also, carbon fiber backspacer on this. Look at the file work. The jimping on this is just gorgeous. Now, this knife is a bit bigger, bit heavier, and it does have a much more powerful spring. Whew, just listen to that action. Well, I'm wearing my lavalier mic. You probably can't hear it. But let me tell you why this knife is special. And then when we get done, I'll tell you some of the negative things. There are some negative things about these knives. They are not perfect by any long stretch, but I absolutely love them because they are that best of both worlds. So let's go ahead, get this out of the way and talk about this knife. So this knife actually was given to me by Elijah Isham before he passed away. He was a very good friend of mine, and that's why this knife is so special. But it's also really special because this thing is just an incredible showing of what can be done with a man and a good bit of skill. Polished M390, and if you've ever tried to polish M390, you know it's almost impossible. And this was really clean when we get ready to start, and just in the process of this, there's fingerprints all over it. Fingerprint magnet, but just beautiful, beautiful knife. This one has a really large aperture that you can get in and flip it. And then this one is a sub frame lock. So it's like a liner but more like a subframe lock. So you've got this nested liner lock on this that is just absolutely gorgeous. Matt did such good work on these. But like I said, the mechanism on these, so this one is mine, so I'm going to go ahead and do it and show it to you. Can you see right in here, you see that little paw? And then there's an armature in here. And when you push down on this, this is not advisable. I will tell you, this is not advisable, but I'm pretty sure that if I ask Matt, he will fix this. So when you push on this, it starts to push that lever out of the way, and you can see it just allows that spring to just fly over. And this is where it engages. So now all I have to do is reset that mechanism, and we're good to go. Now, I only did that to show you guys. I don't recommend it. If you own one of these, I do not recommend doing that. It's not optimal to, like, it's like dry firing a firearm, but these things are just beautiful showings of craftsmanship and ingenuity. Now, there are some of these knives that you can pick up on the market that are not customs. There's several companies. Will and Eric Touch did one. There's a couple other companies. Matt Disin has a couple knives that are available that are production style of this, and they are very good. I've seen them. I saw the Will and Eric Touch version that they did with one of the companies, and then I've seen the one that it's called the Vulcan or the Volcano, which is a Disin production version of one of these. Oh, and you guys, my thumb is healing nicely. If I could get it to focus. My thumb is healing very nicely. So for those of you that have been asking, just thought I'd throw that in there. At any rate, yeah, these things are awesome. But with anything, there comes some negative. So we're going to turn this around and we're going to talk about some of the things that are a little bit negative about these knives, especially on this one. So let's go ahead, turn this around, flip side of the story, flip side of the knives. So there's not a lot of negative, and it's stuff that's kind of inherent in the design of these knives. And it just is. By default, they're going to be a little heavier. There's no real way to lighten these knives with all that additional mechanism and stuff in it, which I don't mind a heavier knife. But there are some design features that can be problematic on these. Not so much on this one. My buddy Tino said he has not noticed it on this knife, but I've noticed it on this one, and it's the reason it originally came to me. So if you look in here, there's no stop pin on these. There's no hard stop, and you really can't have a hard stop on it because you have to rely on the blade to reset the mechanism, which is why that there's this area here, which has got a little flat. You can see it interfaces with that spring, and that's why you have this, but we'll talk about that in a second. So the fact that you don't have a stop pin because you have to reset that mechanism, you have to push it down far enough to reset the mechanism, and it's a spring, means that if you squeeze down on this too hard while you're resetting that spring, you will actually push the blade into the spine. And this originally came to me from Elijah because he had squeezed it down and it had a great big nick in the blade. And it wasn't even a nick, it was just where he had squeezed it into that piece right there. So just one of those things that's inherent on this one. This one, I don't think it has that problem because I believe that this backspacer kind of blocks you from hitting that spring. I think you would actually wind up hitting the backspacer before you hit the spring because there's a little space in that. So that's one of the big things, the weight and the big, but I don't mind the weight. I find this knife gorgeous. There's just so much going on in there. It's just beautifully done. But there is an issue with all of these that you'll ever see. They have this large area, and you guys know I hate how these tangs come down like this, especially for sharpening purposes. First of all, you're losing that much of your sharpened edge of your blade because that's what interfaces with the spring, and that's what allows you to have that mechanism. But it is unattractive, and it makes this part of the blade here all the way up to here completely useless. So look at that. You're losing about a ½ an inch of your blade. Actually, let me measure that. Let's see here. You're losing more than ½ an inch. You're losing close to 3/4 of an inch of your blade. On this one, it's not quite as pronounced, but you still do have that really dead area tang. On that one, it's just about a quarter of an inch maybe on that. It's not horrible on this one, but it definitely is one of those things that does drive me nuts about these, especially with somebody that like, I like the maximum utility out of a knife. And if I'm going to have an area that's not sharp, I want it to be, it really exemplifies the problem that people do have with finger tools. You can't cut back here. It will rip. So you have to make sure that you're all the way forward. Now, I would never cut with this knife. I wouldn't. One, it's gorgeous. And two, it's a reminder of a friend. What had happened was he sent it to me for sharpening. Elijah was a Rolling Stone. He never had a set address. When I tried to get it sent back to him, he was always like, oh, I don't live at that area anymore. I don't live there anymore. And it got to a point he was like, you know what, you've had this knife for so long, just keep it. Just keep it. And then he passed away. And so now this is a constant reminder of something I have from a very, very good friend. But yeah, these things are incredible. They're a beautiful, beautiful showing of what you can do with mechanisms and things like that. And I just thought it would be cool to show you guys these. These are two of the best ones on the market. I do like the Touch Knives ones. They're a lot smaller, but they are amazing. You guys saw one that Nico had that I had on the channel. So there you go, guys. Are they a yup or a nah? They are a yup, but I will say the final thing is they are not cheap. So you can check these out. Guys, let's turn this around. We'll do some final thoughts and send you out about your day. So there you go, guys. Yeah, I absolutely love these. They don't necessarily have the negative things about them that a lot of Switchblades do. And I know you guys are going to have some weirdness going on here. Didn't think about the fact there's green on my shirt. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. I've got a couple of bigger videos scheduled. You know, I'm laid off. I may as well do some big filming now that I got the new camera. So stay tuned to the channel. A lot of cool stuff going on. You know how to support. I've said it in the beginning. Like, share, subscribe, drop a comment, hit the bell icon. But you can also support by using the affiliate links down below. There's a bunch of them. They all support the channel. They don't cost you anything at checkout. And 2 of them have got discounts built in. 10% off if you use my link down below for Coffee Brand Coffee and Tempered Trail. I also have an Amazon store down below. Take that, pin it to your browser, use it for all your Amazon shopping. Speaking of discounts, coupon code crazysharp works to save you 10% at Rosecraft Blades, Farronforge Knife Works, and KATSU Knives. Check out the stuff over at KATSU Knives. They are doing amazing work, and they're making a folder for me that you guys will be able to get soon. Guys, check out the memberships down below. Join the community, which is a public Discord link down below. And that's it on this one. I love you all. Keep it clean in the comment section. If it's your birthday, happy birthday. And I'll see you in the next video.